Well, it truly is my pleasure to welcome our 2017 keynote speaker, Ann Judge and Sharon Magness-Blake. Ann has been an active participant in the horse world since 1976, and I first met her in 1970. Her Arabian farms, Tanglewood Arabians in West Lafayette, Indiana, served as her launching pad. And the next sentence I can't say, but she is proud to be a graduate of Purdue. Go Boilers. Fight on. Just saying. Her judging history is long and prestigious, and having judged the U.S. Youth, Canadian Arabian Nationals multiple times, and as well as judging Arabian Miniature Horse Nationals and World Shows in Russia, South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia. She is serving on the USEF Western Dressage Committee and learning lots and loving it. This is an exciting new discipline, and she just received her Western Dressage card. To add to her other judges' cards, Pinto, Mini, and RCHA. Anna was thrilled to be again named the APAHA Horsewoman of the Year in 2014 and again in 2016. Anne says that her life as a horsewoman, all horses and horse people, I've been blessed. As the horses and horse people I've been blessed to spend time with in the past have helped me evolve to this place. My family, including two wonderful horsewomen I got to grow up with, my sisters Jill and Amy, as well as Terry Wagner, and her mentor, Sharon Magness-Blake. The time to be involved with Arabian horses has never been more exciting.
Here in Denver, horses seem to be everywhere. Yet there's only one horse that brings people to their feet. His name is Thunder, and he's one of the only live mascots in the NFL.
Well, Thunder's kind of an iconic mascot. I mean, I don't know, it's rare that a team uses an actual animal as a mascot, and it's really exciting for the fans. It's become kind of a standard of our game day entertainment.
Thunder's owner, Sharon Magness-Blake, debuted the mascot in 1993. Since then, 3 Arabians have led the Broncos onto the field and have celebrated each and every one of their scores.
Obviously, when you think about Denver Broncos football, Thunder is a huge part of that. Sharon and Ernie, they're going to have Thunder ready to go every single Sunday. Certainly the goal is to get Thunder running a lot during the game. That means you're scoring a lot of touchdowns.
For the past 20 years, Ann Judge has been the trainer and rider of Thunder. An accomplished equestrian, Judge has competed in national-level horse show competitions and is a self-proclaimed horse philosopher.
But I think when you look at Thunder and, what it represents in the Denver Broncos and the relationship that the Broncos have had with Thunder over the years with Sharon and Ernie, and I mean, it's a great correlation between the two, and to see the horse come running out Mile High every time is always very exciting.
Off the field, Thunder has represented the Broncos at many public appearances and a variety of events around the city and across the country. He's traveled to 4 Super Bowls, has appeared on the Today Show, Fox and Friends, and even in New York's Times Square. This year, Thunder celebrates 25 years as the official mascot of the Denver Broncos. And now, here is Sharon Magness-Blake, Ann Judge, and Thunder.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Hi there, I'm Sharon Magness-Blake. Along with my husband Ernie, I'm the proud owner of all the Thunders. And it's great to be back with you all. For 25 years, we have been providing thunder to the Broncos. And while I've had incredible experiences with horses, thunder has been the most incredible experience. As a young girl, I grew up very poor, and I was an abused child. So I escaped by reading every horse book that I could find in the library. And I wished for a home and a husband where I could keep my horses close by me. Be careful what you wish for. I had 900 a few years ago. And so we wound up with Arabians because that's what my first husband had. And so everywhere we go and we take thunder, people say, "What kind of horse is he?"
What kind of horse is he?
And we say, "He's an Arabian." And they say, and they say, "Well, he's kind of small." I said, "Don't judge him by his size." So my husband would go up on the elevator at one of the games years ago when it was Thunder 1 and 2, and he would be on the elevator with John Madden. And John Madden would ask Ernie, literally every time he saw him, "What kind of horse is that?" And Ernie would tell him, "It's an Arabian." And so the following year, he got on the elevator with John Madden, and John said, "Hey, that horse of yours, is that a Percheron?" And Ernie said, "No, he's an Arabian." "Oh, Arabian, that's right. I'll remember it the next time."
Well, when Uriah, I believe, called us first and asked us if we would be the keynote speakers here, and we're always so thrilled when the convention is in Denver and we can bring thunder, but to be invited to speak as well as to bring thunder, we were thrilled. And then when Uriah on the staff told us that the theme of the convention was honor, we were to the moon, because what we try to do all the time, we tell ourselves constantly, we need to honor what we do, honor the horse, honor our team. And so we were so excited to be invited to be here. And I got to tell you, even though we keep that in mind all the time, it doesn't always go perfectly. Like there was this one time, Sharon does these amazing fundraising events. The largest fundraiser in Denver is called Western Fantasy. It raises over $1 million every year for Volunteers of America, specifically for Meals on Wheels and the Battered Women's Shelter, which is amazing. So she rides in a huge ballroom. There are 1,000 people there, and they allow us to practice the day before. And this was when we had Thunder One, who was this big, bold, beautiful stallion. And so the day before Western Fantasy, we're practicing, and sometimes he would yank her chain. He just would mess with her. And so he was doing that in the rehearsal, and so I strapped on some of those little English spurs, and I said, next time he does that, just kick him in the belly. And so she did, and he reared straight up. She said, "I'm never listening to you again."
Well, now I'll tell a story on Ann. So when Thunder 1 retired, we put Thunder 2 came on. And Thunder 2 they were 3 different horses, 3 different personalities. And let's face it, this is the only job of its kind in the United States. And people, including myself, sometimes don't realize that. And so Thunder 1 had this big, beautiful tail, big, beautiful mane, but he was quite a handful. And so number 2, Annie wasn't sure he was going to make it as a Thunder. And we took him down to the Denver Rescue Mission, and because it was so cold, we let the old horse rest at home. And he was standing there, and there was traffic going by, and there was noise, and there was a lot of people coming up to him. And he just stood there, and he told us, "I can be the big horse." And so we put him on the field. It took 5 games and 5 of us holding him before he realized that, okay, I can do this. This is really not so scary. Well, Ann was concerned because his tail wasn't as big and as long. And so I said, "Annie, it'll grow, it's fine. People don't care about the tail." Well, he takes off down the field after a score, and I see her she's turned in the saddle. She's such a great rider. The reins are loose. She's turning in her saddle, and she's going like this. I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? Because I always make sure she gets down safe. And then I run down the sideline. And I see the ref holding a tail. And I see Terry running down the field like this. And as he goes by the ref, he grabs the tail, puts it under his arm, and keeps on going. And so
She never let me use that again. She never let me use the fake tail. I thought I'd be able to just squeak that one by her, but
No, we didn't do that again. And so that game, my husband said, you're going to be on the front page of the newspaper because we lost the game and, Broncos lose their tail. And fortunately, that was the game that Jake Plummer gave the finger to the crowd, and he was on the front page, and we didn't make it. So we saved a few.
Well, just one more little story, and then we'll start into what we really believe is a great theme about things. You see these beautiful videos and beautiful pictures, and we're so proud of this horse and what we get to do. And the majority of time, that's how it is. But every once in a while, we do have these little quirky things that happen. And when we score, I run right down the middle of the field, and then I hop off and we walk Thunder back behind the opposing team's bench. Well, I had a run. I ran down the middle of the field. I hopped off, and usually by the time I'm walking past the opposing team's bench, they're kicking off. Well, they're not kicking off, and the referees are all blowing their whistles, and I'm going, what's going on? What's going on? Well, unbeknownst to me, as I was running down, Thunder let loose a load that spread all along the field. And the opposing player that was to receive the kickoff, he was standing there going, so, shit happens. That's all I can say. Anyway, so we've been thinking, as Sharon and I were mulling over these stories, we had the best time coming up with this because it gave us an opportunity to go over all these 20 years and 25 years for Sharon of all these great times. So, Sharon, how do we honor the Arabian horse?
Well, community first. And Thunder, as the mascot for the Denver Broncos, has been a natural to work in the community because we take him to a lot of events where there are inner city kids who have never seen a horse, never touched a horse, and have all kinds of questions. And Annie has done such a great job training the Thunders. We can take him through human doors. We can take him into gymnasiums. We can take him just about anywhere. So he has been a real ambassador for horses, and particularly the Arabian breed, because if they've seen horses on TV, they'll say, well, he's really pretty, but he's so pretty, he looks like a girl. Is he a girl? And that's always the first question. And then I always say, well, you can't really have a girl mascot for the Broncos. But one of the first events, Annie was judging one time, and so my husband, who was just, when we first got married, we've been married 13 years now, and he was just getting to know the Arabian horse, and so we had to take Thunder 1, again, a handful, to an event by ourselves at the stadium. And so we had him in the stall, and people were coming up and taking pictures, and this woman came up to Ernie and said, would you take my picture with Thunder? And he said, of course. So he took her picture, and she's looking at the picture, and she said, this is the best day of my life. I got my picture with Thunder. So as she walked away, Ernie said, what kind of life does she have? He just could not understand how this was such a big deal for her to meet Thunder. And so at the games, we have him outside for photographs, and so it's an opportunity for people to come up and meet him. And you all as horse people can appreciate these stories. People will say, is he the horse that runs in the stadium? I'm like, no, we have two horses, one out here, one there, And they're like, well, he looks bigger in the stadium. This is a little guy. And so we are constantly involving him in education with the community. And we've taken him to the Girls and Boys Clubs, parties. There's a list here that I could go on and on, but one of my favorites is the stock show, We took Thunder 3 last year to the stock show. He is going to be the grand marshal of the stock show this year, again.
No. Yeah, go away.
And he was the grand marshal last year. The parade got snowed out, so we didn't get to be in the parade. But last year we decided to do all the appearances, and so we took him into the stock show, and we were doing our normal thing, getting him ready. And I asked one of the staffers, I said, so I can be ready with Annie's pictures. How many do we have today? How many kids? And they said 3,500. And Thunder and I looked at each other and went, uh-oh. Now, he is a slow walker. Thunder 3 is, he's really an interesting horse because he's very brave, but he's got his own mind about what he's going to do when he's going to do it sometimes. So, but that day, after 3,500 kids, I was getting him ready to go out, and he was like running me out the aisle. He's like, we're out of here. 3,500 kids. So, community, we've done all kinds of events. We've ridden him in ballrooms. We put him in an elevator at the stadium and take him up on the elevator, and he does a Christmas party for 300 inner city kids. And he looks at me all the time when the kids are poking their fingers up his nose and says, really? This is what I have to do? It's just your job. Oh, okay. And he goes back to doing his job. But invariably, the question always comes wherever we take him, and we've taken him so many places, what kind of horse is he?
He's an Arabian. So another way that we can honor the Arabian horse is through kindness. So I'm going to put on my judging hat here. I think I have a judging hat on. I love judging so much, and I continually am trying to get better at it. And you here in this body, there's so many of you that are judges that I've had the pleasure and privilege of judging with. I think you're the hardest working. I'm speaking to all you judges out here now. I love my peers, and I think they're the hardest working group of people who are continually trying to educate and then re-educate and then learn another scoring system and then figure out how to tweak that one. So I love us. I have this great story on Richard Petty, my most dear friend, who exhibits kindness to me in such a spectacular way. He was judging a mini show up in Canada one year, and for those of you that don't ever go to mini shows, they're beautiful, but there are some of them that are just cute, just little fur balls. And they have liberty classes, just like our liberty classes. However, they all go in the liberty class. You'll have 30 or 40 liberty horses. Oh my gosh, it'll go on for 3 hours. It'll be the last class of the show. So anyway, Richard was up in Canada judging a liberty class. There were four judges altogether. And it's going on and on and on. And then an elderly man comes in with his little horse, and it's just a little pudge ball. And the man also happens to be mentally handicapped as well. And so he takes the halter off his horse and shoosh, shoosh, the music starts, and the little horse just stands there and looks at him. And so then the guy, he backs up, and then he runs at the horse, and the little horse comes toward him when he's backing up, and then when he comes toward him, he comes right back at him. And then the guy goes like this and moves to the right and moves to the left, and the little horse won't leave him. He moves to the right and moves to the left. Richard awarded him the first place ribbon. My point being that we as judges can, within the parameters of the rules, because Richard said, that was the best darn liberty shadowing job I've ever seen a horse do with an exhibitor. So within the parameters of the rules, we can be kind. And in this day and age, we have to assert that kindness. I think that it takes a lot of faith on an exhibitor's part to, some of them forget that they haven't tried on their show clothes for a year. And so they'll get to the horse show, and sometimes things won't fit. or they think that the horse is prepared and it isn't. And they enter that arena with the faith that we will not only be fair and honest, but that we'll be kind. I know I've told this story a million times. I know a lot of you have heard it before, but speaking of faith, Thunder 3, we took to Super Bowl 48. We flew them to New York City, and they gave us the opportunity to be on the field the day before the Super Bowl. So we went there on that Saturday, and you know, they've got all these people with headpieces on, and they loaded us in the tunnel that we would be leading the team out of, and they had some high school kids that were the practice football team. They were so excited to be there. But they said, here's how it's going to go. There's a big door that was in front of us. You'll hear pyro. And then 3 seconds of silence. We open the doors. The guy in the headphone says, "Go Thunder." So we practiced it twice on Saturday. It was great. It was awesome. So fun. And the kids were so excited. So game day, we're loaded in the tunnel. The doors are shut. The pyro starts going, and they open the doors. Well, the pyro's still going. And the pyro puts out a lot of fog and haze, and it's kind of acrid. It really burns. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen that video, but I hesitate for just a minute, and then it's like, I gotta go. And so I asked Thunder, I just said, come on, buddy, we're going. And I've looked at that video now a lot. He's kind of hunkered down, and he goes in a straight line, but you can tell when the pyro's going off near him because he changes leads. He goes like this. Amazing. When I got through that tunnel of cheerleaders and got over to the sidelines, I got off of him and I just hugged his neck. That's faith. And we know. So I really do have an example of horses going through fire for us. They will. If they believe in us and we've partnered with them, they will go through fire for us. And it's that kind of faith that I think exhibitors come into the show arena with. And so as a judge, I want to try to answer that faith with kindness and fairness and honesty. Sharon, what kind of horse is it?
He's an Arabian. So education is another way to honor the Arabian horse. I'm not sure who's received more education. The kids we take in the schools, or the people that ask the questions, or myself. I have learned so much through these horses, mostly through Anne. Sometimes in a low voice and sometimes in a higher voice. We have taken the Thunders to 4 Super Bowls. So 3 Thunders. The first one was a stallion, mind of his own, and Annie rode him later in his career and managed him really well. I rode him, and as she said, he always messed with me. When I wanted him to rear, he wouldn't, and when I didn't want him to rear, he would. And then number 2 he's retired now. He's a kind horse, the kindest horse you could ever imagine. And number 3 is kind of a combination of the first 2. And we now have a number 4 in training. And number 4, I'm not sure Annie knows him better than I'm going to start getting to know him in the next couple weeks, because we're taking him to the stock show also. So 4 Super Bowls, educating everybody around us, because if you can imagine Hollywood people who think they know animals and think they know what a horse can do or cannot do, because you take him up in an elevator, they think he can do an escalator. And the Broncos, God love them, always surprise us on game day. They would forget to tell us about the balloons, at the end of the field going up as we were going right at them. And so they're like, well, he's okay, right? He does fireworks. And so the first Super Bowl we took him to was San Diego, where we won against the Chargers. And the NFL had given us permission to run just in the end zone. And but somebody on the field didn't get the communication. I got thrown off the field 5 times. They're like, what is a horse doing on the field? And so until I finally found somebody that knew what they were doing, and then I stayed on the field the rest of the time. So Pat Bowen kept radioing down to me, Sharon, I want you to run the whole field. And I sent back the message, Pat, they won't let us. We're only allowed in the end zone. And so he said, I want you, the last score, when we're going to win this game, I want you to run that horse. And I said, they're going to put me in jail. He said, I'll come get you out. And I said, no, you won't. You're going to win the game. You're going to forget I'm in jail. And where's my horse? So that was the first Super Bowl. And then the second one, we took him to Florida. We also won that one. But again, they wouldn't let us stand on the field. They would let us run in the end zone. So Thunder was back in the bowels of the stadium. I was sitting on a big trash can holding him. And then we had a team that cleared the way for us every time we scored so we could come out in the field, again, only the end zone. But again, educating all of these people about what a horse can do, what he cannot do. And then the biggest Super Bowl, even though we lost it, was New York. That was such an education. And my husband, Ernie, went with me. We flew ahead of the horse. So we're going to FedEx the horse. I love this horse. He's my riding horse. He's been my baby since he was born. And all of a sudden it dawns on me, the FedEx people say, we'd like to do a commercial about FedExing the horse to the Super Bowl when he gets back to Denver safely. And I thought, safely? What does that mean? You're worried about this? So I'm questioning everybody. Well, the plane takes off at a more gentle slope. So Annie and Thunder, two of my favorite people in the world, are on this plane. And not only, I said, why does he have to do a layover in Memphis? And so Ernie explains to me, Sharon, all the packages do a layover in Memphis. And he's the last package to go on. So fortunately, he was the only horse, and he had 3 stalls. So they take off. And in the meantime, Ernie and I get there, and we go to look at the stable where he's going to be staying during the Super Bowl. It's in New Jersey. And I get there, and it's 30 degrees in the stable. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is freezing in here. And I asked the lady, does it get any warmer? Well, when all the horses come back in, it's a little warmer. I said, I don't know about this. So Ernie's son was with me, and he told us later that he was sure when we left that stable that we were going to every Target and every Walmart and buying every heater that there was in the city. And he said, Sharon, you take the word eccentric to a new level. And then, of course, Annie landed in Newark just fine with Thunder. And when they opened the plane, it was the most incredible experience to see them standing there at the plane at the opening of the door, and I cried. I was just like, oh my gosh, I was so emotional. He was fine. He got there fine. And it was, a lot of you who have flown horses would know that, they came down on a forklift and he walked right onto the trailer. But then we had incredible challenges in New York because we had a 40-foot trailer going through the tunnel, trying to make the turns into the city. And just incredible team that we have. My husband, his son, they had a black Suburban, and we were supposed to have a police escort, and at the last minute, somebody more important came along. And so we did our own police escort. And my husband and his son drove ahead of us, stopped traffic. We got the trailer around, and then they, just like the movies, they sped up and got ahead of us again. And so we were able to navigate the trailer at 5 o'clock in the morning through New York City. And then they had a place for us to park, and we did 5 TV interviews. The Today Show was the first one. And people didn't understand, like the horse can walk over, as you know, big cords and everything, but they were like, well, I don't want that horse to cut the cord and electrocute us all. And so we were just like, he'll be fine, he'll be okay. And so as we finished the last interview, I had my big Bronco jacket on, and Thunder turned to me, grabbed my coat, pulled my face around and said, I'm done. So we didn't win that game, but that one was the most incredible experience because the big Times Square screen where the cubes all turn, I said to Annie at one point, look, we are on the screen in Times Square. This is like incredible. Of course, then the game the next day wasn't so incredible, but and then San Francisco, when we took him, we drove him to San Francisco, Annie, one of our ranch managers, Rudy, and myself. and we got stuck in Rock Springs, Wyoming. At a truck stop kind of thing. Annie had a really nice hotel for me, the best she could find. And as we were drinking wine that night, I said, Annie, I just want you to, she said, what would your society friends think of this? And I said, I just want you to know the wine you're drinking tonight costs more than the room. And so it took us 3.5 days to get him to San Francisco. And I was worried about, okay, how do we keep him warm? We had to go from below 0 to 70 degrees. And when I got out to Annie's farm, she had built the trailer a foot high with shavings, and we just blanketed him. We put his long underwear on, and then as the temperature went up, we just kept taking off layer by layer. But I had never done that before, so it was a real education for me on getting the horse there. And of course, my husband flew and called us from the airplane and said, oh, by the way, I think I'm over you. Nice, Ernie. And took us 3.5 days, took him 2 hours. But what an experience, and we had, for me, it was a big education on how to take care of a horse in all kinds of temperatures, all kinds of circumstances. And we would open the door when we would go through Reno or a place like that, and he'd look out and say, what the heck is this? And we stayed at Stanford. We got to Stanford, and they could not have treated us any better. They have big, warm blood horses there. Their horses are like $500,000 horses. But Thunder was, and he looked little. He did look little next to all these other guys. He was the big star. We had a security guard. We had so many people coming out, and he was an Arabian star. What kind of horse is he?
He's an Arabian. So finally, I think we can honor the Arabian horse by being inclusive. I'm not telling you any secret here that Sharon and I are the oldest women in the NFL. I for sure I'm the oldest cheerleader. I mean, seriously, all you have to do is do the math. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I'm kind of past that 20, 30, 40 mark. But the Broncos, the NFL and the Denver Broncos in particular, have been so inclusive, welcoming, hospitable to us and our team and our horse that they know nothing about. They know nothing about having a 1,000-pound animal that's a flight creature. Let's remember that. They fly from danger. That's on the field with professional athletes who have contracts worth millions of dollars. So they've been so great and so welcoming. And so, as I thought, how difficult then is it for us to also be inclusive? The biggest classes I've judged this year have been the ranch horse riding. And, I'll tell you, I'm probably not ever going to be a carriage driver, and I'm probably not going to do endurance because I don't have any endurance. But those classes and disciplines, I certainly have a lot of respect for. I loved that Lori Conway had that post on her Facebook page where she highlighted a couple of horses that one of their stallions had sired, and one was a winning barrel racer, and one was a very competitive endurance horse. And I loved that. We always know that Conway Arabians is going to breed incredible English horses, but the fact that she highlighted a barrel racer and an endurance horse, she gets it. I love that. So, and I've got, give her a hand. That's awesome. We can all do that. So, I've got this little boutique barn with these ladies who've been with me for 20-some years. They're all pretty much over 50 now, and a lot of them have the same horses that we took to the Nationals 10 or 15 or more years ago, and they're not really that competitive at the Nationals anymore, but they love these horses. They're still so talented in their own right, and so we've been going to the Western Dressage world and the Pinot world, and you know what? I'll tell you, going outside of my known industry has been so uplifting for me. It's like I get a chance to tell everyone and show everyone these beautiful creatures, and they're like they're like open vessels. They're so excited to see our horses because we're usually kind of in the minority of the breeds that are there. And so they all come to our stalls. They want to see our horses. So it has opened a whole new world for me. So I just want to leave you guys with this. Thunder has changed the world as far as the way the world sees Arabian horses. But you all have thunders too, all of you. And you all are the thunder, all of you. You are the fingers that go out from this body, and you change your little corner of the world. I did that. I started thinking that way several years ago, where I went, I may not be able to change the world like I've always wanted to since I was a kid. You know, you have those dreams, I'm going to change the world. I'm not going to change the world, but I decided several years ago I could change my little corner of it. And you know what? If you go out into the world with your fingers and you change your little corner of it, and you change your little corner of it, eventually we do change the world. So now I want to hear from everybody. What kind of horse is he? Thank you all. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing that I forgot. So you see here, Thunder, the Horse for Humanity. He will be at the stock show and in the stock show parade this year. And so we are going to take him all around Denver and sell him in a year. And the beneficiary will be the National Western Scholarship Fund for kids. But we have big plans for him going a lot of places, and I really appreciate him being donated. Duke Beardsley painted him. If you're familiar with him, he is a famous Western artist. Took a little while to get him motivated, but once he got motivated, I think he did a great job. So anyway, thank you so much.